public service. Let's have a listen.
Shake your hand. Oh, what's that noise?
In the full gaze of the media, Prince Harry was doing what he does best in Birmingham. On show was old school Harry.
You know who's obsessed with Lego? My son. Obsessed. And he's very good at building things as well.
A reminder of how comfortable he is doing this kind of stuff. That's especially obvious when he's meeting children. But we wouldn't be seeing Harry's own kids or Meghan, at least on any engagements. It's one of the moments of the trip, the launch event for next year's Invictus Games, which will be hosted here at the NEC in Birmingham.
Lovely, thank you so much. Thank you.
Because Invictus has never just been about belonging to a team. It's about belonging to each other. We are a family, one that I am so proud and so honoured to be a part of.
Watching Prince Harry here in Birmingham today, a few things have crossed my mind. First, that he's here on his own. This was supposed to be a big moment when we'd see him alongside his wife Meghan, but security concerns meant that didn't happen. I'm also struck by just how good he is at these kind of engagements. He's got this easy charm. He'll talk to anyone. He'll really get stuck in. They are the kind of skills that would be really handy if he was still doing official royal engagements. And that's the other thing here. You are struck by just how deep the tensions still are between Harry and his royal family. And that remains a major talking point.
Hello and welcome to When It Hits the Fan on BBC Radio 4, the show about PR and power.
Sana, how important do you think it is to see Harry back here in the UK, sort of back to old school royal business in a way? Do you think that matters to see that?
We've all had family issues and fractures, and so what we're doing is we're seeing ourselves in the mirror, and that's why so many people are leaning in and they're so invested in this story.
You've over the years known quite a few royal fan hitters. I wonder where you think the Harry and Meghan one sits.
The Harry situation is actually one of the biggest existential threats the palace have had. If they don't solve it longer term, when William becomes king, there will be two palaces, two courts, one in America and one in the UK, and that could be a real threat.
We've spent all week ringing contacts in the UK and in California to try to find out if Meghan and the kids are coming over. Well, we finally got our answer, and it came from Buckingham Palace, who've told us that the King and Queen have met up with Harry, Meghan, Archie and Lilibet at Highgrove, the King's home in Gloucestershire. We won't see any photos of the family reunion. That will stay as a private moment.
You could be the target or you could not.
Instead, the grand finale of Prince Harry's visit took a much lighter turn.
We are essentially trying to channel the energy of the goat to feel at one with the spirit of the goat. Yeah.
After a heavy-going week. Goat yoga, anyone? Harry found himself quite the draw for all those getting involved in the yoga sessions. The children here are supported by Scotty's Little Soldiers, helping military families where children have lost a parent.
2, 1.
Even a prince, used to Californian sunshine, appreciated a water fight in the baking British weather.
What is your name? You're right. He's my hero.
And the questions from children offered some interesting responses from Harry.
What makes you laugh when you've had a difficult day?
You know what? Sometimes it's just a difficult day. I think this goes to all of you. There are some days where you'd like to laugh, but it might not always be possible to laugh.
Getting Prince Harry away at the end of the final engagement wasn't easy.
Thank you so much.
Virtually everyone got their selfie eventually. A lot hung on this visit for both Prince Harry and the King. In the run-up, things had been tense. Everyone was wary, and that feeling lingered. But it ended with a reunion that could mark the start of a shift in family dynamics. A week is a very long time in the story of the turbulent relationship between Harry and Meghan and the royal family.
The BBC said it, not us, not a Sussex squad fan account. The BBC, the same outlet that has spent years running Source Says hit pieces dressed up as journalism, sat there on camera and called him Old School Harry. Sit with that for a second, squaddies, because when the institution's own mouthpiece starts describing the man they spent 5 years trying to paint as a bitter, disloyal renegade with words like warm, unscripted and at ease, that's not an accident. That's a slip. That's the mask coming off for 1 week, and what's underneath is exactly what we've been telling you the whole time. Let's get into it. Harry landed in Birmingham for a run of engagements that, on paper, should have generated the usual tabloid noise machine. The "Where's Meghan" headlines, the rift speculation, the recycled Photoshop body language nonsense. And for about 5 minutes, that's exactly what we got. But then the cameras kept rolling, and something inconvenient for the derangers happened. Harry just showed up as himself. He talked about his kid's obsession with Lego to a room full of strangers like a completely normal dad, making completely normal small talk, because that's what he is. He got down on the ground to actually talk to children instead of performing at them for a photo op. And the correspondents covering it, people who are paid to find the crack in the story, couldn't find one. So instead they reported what was actually in front of them. That's the part the institution hates most, not scandal, authenticity. Because authenticity doesn't need palace management. It doesn't need a press office drafting quotes 3 weeks in advance. It just needs Harry to be Harry. And every single time that's allowed to happen without interference, the public falls in love with him all over again. Let's talk about what critics conveniently forget every time they ask, what does he even do now? Mental health advocacy, environmental work, veterans' welfare, journalism accountability, which, let's be honest, is probably why certain publications hate him so personally. Online safety for kids. None of that came with a title attached. None of it was handed to him by an institution. He built every single one of those lanes himself on purpose because he actually cares about them, not because a courtier assigned it to his calendar. And that's the real answer to what has he done since stepping back. He didn't lose purpose when he lost the trappings of royal life. If anything, the trappings were the thing standing between him and the purpose. Strip away the protocol, the pre-approved talking points, the aides steering him toward the safest possible photo op, and what you get isn't a diminished man. You get a freer one, a more present one who can actually tell a grieving child the truth instead of reciting something a comms team focus grouped. That's not spin. That's the entire thesis of why he left in the first place, playing out in real time, on camera, for the BBC to document whether they meant to or not. Now, here's the moment that actually matters. The launch of the next Invictus Games, coming to the NEC in Birmingham. And Harry didn't mince words about what it means to him. He said it plainly. Invictus was never just about belonging to a team. It's about belonging to each other, and he's proud to be part of that family. I want you to actually understand what Invictus is, because critics love to wave it off as his charity thing, like it's a hobby. It isn't. It's a program he built from the ground up, rooted in his own military service, specifically to give wounded, injured and sick servicemen and women a path back to purpose after they've lost everything else that gave their life structure. A decade later, it's not shrinking, it's expanding, it's coming home. And by every account of that Birmingham launch, the cheering, the warmth, the genuine emotional reaction from the competitors, you cannot manufacture that kind of connection with PR. That's earned. That's a decade of showing up. During the visit with children supported by a charity for military families who've lost a parent, Harry got soaked in a water fight in typical miserable British weather, made kids laugh, and got called somebody's hero on camera, unscripted. But it's what happened next that I think is the real headline of the entire week, and nobody's talking about it enough. A child asked him what makes him laugh on a hard day. And instead of giving some sanitized feel-good answer written for a highlight reel, Harry told her the truth, that sometimes nothing makes a hard day easier, and that it's okay if you can't force your way through it. Read that again. A grown man who has lived through the kind of loss most of us can't imagine, telling a grieving child that her hard feelings are valid, not something to perform past, not something to smile through for the cameras. That's not PR. You cannot coach that. That's a person who has actually sat inside real grief, speaking to someone who's living inside it too. That single moment does more to explain who Harry actually is than 1,000 palace statements ever could. Every single time Meghan isn't standing next to Harry at a UK engagement, the tabloid machine cranks up the same tired, riffed narrative. Let's shut that down right now. This is a security issue. A documented, litigated, years-long security issue that this family has had to fight for in actual courts because the institution, the same one certain commentators are so desperate to protect, declined to guarantee their safety. That's not a snub. That's not domestic drama. That's the RAVEC dispute playing out in real consequences, and it's genuinely exhausting watching headline after headline bury that fact in paragraph 9 while leading with "Where's Meghan" in the title. Here's where it gets interesting. Because in the middle of all this warm coverage, BBC Radio 4 ran a panel literally framing Harry's independent life in America as one of the biggest existential threats the institution has ever faced. The fear being two competing centres of royal influence, one in the UK, one in the US. Notice the language. Two adults building a successful independent life for their own children on their own terms is being described as a threat to be neutralised. Not personal growth. Not a family thriving outside a broken system, a threat. That tells you everything about how the institution still sees them. Not as people who left, but as a PR problem that hasn't been fully contained yet. And then, the moment the entire week was actually building toward, Buckingham Palace confirmed, quietly, with 0 photographs and 0 fanfare, that the King and Queen met with Harry, Meghan and their children at Highgrove. No staged balcony moment, no carefully lit portrait, just a private family visit, kept private. And I'd push back hard on anyone trying to spin that silence as a bad sign. After years of having every glance, every seating chart, every flicker of body language dissected by tabloids hunting for conflict, an unphotographed family moment isn't a red flag. It might be the healthiest thing this family has had in years. So here's where I land. A week that opened with the usual security headlines and Alone Again framing, closed with an Invictus launch full of real joy. A private reunion with the King that no lens captured, and Harry ending it all exactly the way he always does, fully present with the people who need him most. Even the outlets that spent the week hunting for fracture couldn't avoid ending on a note of cautious hope. I'll take it. Tell me in the comments. Do you think Highgrove was a real turning point, or are you staying cautious? Did this week's coverage feel fair to you, or did you catch the same subtle framing I did? If this video gave you some ammunition for the next time someone in your comments tries the "what does he even do" line, hit subscribe, smash that like button, and share this with a fellow squaddy who needs the full picture instead of just the headline. Until next time.